Hi everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. I love a haunted house story. You all know this. And one of my personal favorite things within the horror, thriller, and mystery genres is a ghost. And I'm here to tell you my top 7 paranormal books that fall within the category of horror, thriller, or mystery. It's actually a fucking ghost. So without further ado, let's jump on it. My first recommendation to you is And the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtagich. This is a book that you can very much see I was obsessed with. It is one of my favorites. It's very lyrical. It's very beautiful. You at no point really know what's going on, but let me tell you what it is about. So in this book, we are following 2 young girls. This is not a spoiler. This is how the story opens. Both of these girls grew up in a very abusive household, and one day they have to run away and they have to escape. So they run away to their aunt's house where their mother grew up, and their mother always told them, do not go here, but they have no choice but to do so because they're trying to save their own lives. We have the older sister who is a teenager and the younger sister who is a young child. They go to the house and everything is beautiful and perfect to begin with. But then their aunt starts to lose herself to madness, and there is the story of a shadow man living in the house. They slowly start to run out of food, and the house starts to devolve. And as the title will tell you, the forest outside every day gets closer and closer and closer to their home. It is very lyrical. It is very dreamy. It's very poetic. It's something that I would recommend to you if you enjoy gothic horror. And this is definitely, it's a fucking ghost. There are ghosts in this book, and I think you'll be surprised with where this story goes. My next recommendation for you is a controversial one, because I know there are a lot of mixed opinions about this, but I personally really enjoyed this book, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. You can see where the sticker was, which is annoying. But anyway, in The House Across the Lake, we are following this woman who used to be an actress, and her husband passed away. As a result, she ends up turning to drinking and becomes a heavy drinker and an alcoholic to help her deal with the pain of losing her husband. But she's in the spotlight, and she starts showing up really drunk to her performances. The paparazzi is very much catching her being in this state, and her mother, who is also famous, ships her off to the lake house. While she's at the lake house, she decides that she's going to watch the family who lives across the lake because there's nothing better for her to do. So she starts watching this family, which just consists of this man and this incredibly famous, beautiful model who is hella rich. And she starts watching their interactions through their big old glass house. While she's doing that, she sees them fight one day, and the next day, the wife disappears. She becomes convinced that the husband has something to do with it, and the rest of the story is about her trying to figure out what exactly happened to this woman, where did she go, and what is the husband's role in all of this. This is not a recommendation for everyone, because I will tell you the ending is absolutely chaotic, but what I can promise you is that this is paranormal, and yes, there is a ghost. Let's move on to a book that absolutely scared the shit out of me, mostly because of the psychological things that are going on, and that is If You See Her by Anya Alborn. If You See Her is truly a paranormal horror. We are opening up with 3 teenage boys who are living in Michigan in the 90s. They go to this abandoned house in their town because there is nothing better to do. And one of the friends is obsessed with it. So when they go to this house, one boy, our main character, he stays outside while his other 2 friends explore, just because he has a super bad vibe about this house. While he's there, he sees a woman in the window, and then she's gone. And the very next thing that happens is that his friend takes his own life by jumping off of the balcony in this home. Then we flash forward 30 years in the future, and well, a long time in the future. And we're following the 2 remaining friends within this group. One of them is like, I really need closure, not a main character. I really need closure. We have to go back to this house. And that is where this story kicks off, because this is a story about possession. Remember how I told you that first guy saw this woman in the window? She saw him too. And I'm just going to leave it at that. It is a story that will really terrify you if you are afraid of not having control of your own thoughts and losing your grip of what is real and what is imagined. It is so, so, so good. When I listened to it, it was on Kindle Unlimited with the free Audible companion. So I hope that that is still the case. And if it is, and you have KU, check this book out because it is truly disturbing. So much fun. And as the possession thing will tell you, full of ghosts. My next recommendation to you can also fall into the gothic horror category, and that is Horrified by Katrina Leno. I believe this is a YA story, but we are following a teenage girl who is moving with her mother across the country back to, I want to say Massachusetts. I think they're coming to Massachusetts, and this girl is definitely reluctant to do so, but they really have no other choice. Her mother has inherited her childhood home, so they go up there, and of course, things immediately start going wrong because she starts seeing things in the house, she starts hearing things, and she learns more about her family and what exactly happened to make her mom leave this town. This is very psychological. We have a lot of conversations about mental health as well, but it is just such a well done book. It is very beautiful and lyrical, which is why I'm saying it could fall into the category of gothic horror for other reasons as well. But if you enjoy that kind of writing style, I think that you'll enjoy it. There is a kind of dark gothic fairy tale element to this, but there is something wrong with the house. There is something going on in the history of this family, and it is very intriguing. It is such a good time, and it is for sure, if you're a fan of gothic horror, check this book out. Then I'm going to recommend to you Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, which I can only describe to you as Ikea, but make it haunted. So in this story, we are following a crew of Ikea workers. And one day their manager is like, hey, corporate is coming to the store to do an inspection. And we've been noticing that every single morning when we open, there are things in the wrong places. There's feces and general signs that someone is inhabiting the stores after hours. Anyone who volunteers can get a little bit of overtime, some extra pay to stay for this one overnight shift so we can figure out exactly what is going on. So they do that, and it gets very, very, very weird and very chaotic from that point, because not only is it a ghost, there's some other things going on in that store is what I will say. It's Grady Hendrix, so you can expect things like body horror. There are some torture scenes. It gets very graphic. If you don't like insects and you don't like rats and you don't like roaches, maybe stay away from this book because they're in there. And for me, I just love this book so much because I've rarely been to Ikea because I live in New York City and there's no Ikea nearby. And whenever I went, I always thought, one, how cool would it be to stay in this store overnight just because they have sets for the houses. And this book, I would recommend reading physically because it's set up like an Ikea catalog. So each one is like instructions for building furniture. I don't know how to describe it. It is interactive. Like, you need to have the physical book in front of you. I loved it, and so I'm recommending it to you. And how could I talk to you about haunted houses and paranormal horrors without talking to you about Darcy Coates? I can't. So let's get into it. I have two Darcy Coates recommendations. The first one is Craven Manor, which is the first Darcy Coates book I ever read. So in Craven Manor, we are following a man, and this man is down on his luck. He is struggling financially. He is on the brink of homelessness. He doesn't have any food, and he really is just looking for the door just creaked and it did scare me. And he really is looking for an opportunity to get on his feet and to prevent him from not having a home. So one day he ends up getting this opportunity at this house called Craven Manor, and he gets to be the groundskeeper. So he gets housing, he gets his meals, and he takes the opportunity to do so, even though the person who owns the home has kind of like a weird reputation and is a little creepy. But while he's there, he starts seeing things. There are ghosts who come outside of his window in the night, something that is tapping, something that's trying to enter his home. The grounds are kind of fighting him. I would say this is kind of like Goosebumps meets mythology. By which I mean, it's a cozy horror. It is really enjoyable. It definitely has like its very scary moments, but overall it is a book that I think you could enjoy if you are looking to be scared, but also if you're looking to not be absolutely terrified. I gave this book 5 stars. And the final book that I'm going to recommend to you by Darcy Coates and on this list is The House Next Door. This book is all about female friendships in a haunted house with a ghost and dolls. So in this book, we are following this woman who lives in this house, and she has lived in this house for several times. She's very comfortable there. Things are fine. And then this woman moves in next door. And the house next door to this woman actually has a very notorious reputation. So when she gets this new neighbor, she's just...
Excuse me, the wind is trying to interrupt me.
So she goes to meet this new neighbor who's moved into this house because of course it has a notorious reputation, and she sees that this woman is alone. They strike up a friendship, and this woman eventually discloses to her, this is not really a spoiler, it's the setup to the plot, but feel free to skip ahead by 10 seconds if you don't want to know. Discloses to her that she is running from her abusive partner. This story is about these 2 women and our main character are trying to protect this woman, but also the woman who lives in this house is starting to experience some really, really strange things in the house. She repurposes dolls, like, you know how you've seen the videos where you wipe off the Bratz doll's face and you like give them a completely different new face? That's what she does. She does that, but the house is haunted. The house is slowly possessing her, and it's not only possessing her, it's possessing our main character. So we see them trying to fight this thing off. It is cozy horror, but in classy Darcy Coates fashion. There are definitely some scary scenes in here, some things that will disturb you, and overall a general feeling of ominence. Is that right? And overall just has a very ominous vibe. So I really loved this book, but that does bring us to the end of this little recommendations video of all of the books where it's actually a fucking ghost. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching as always. Subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.